And then basically Job has a back and forth with his friends where they're basically telling him, it's like, Job, listen, like if you truly were a righteous man, you wouldn't have gotten all this punishment from God. Like God is a just God and he wouldn't punish thing. And you have that whole kind of back and forth from that. Then eventually God shows up, and he like shows up in terms of like this kind of like sky god kind of figure, in terms of like Zeus kind of type, where he's like, you control like lightning bolts down, all this kind of shit. So then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. He said, "Who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me." You know what I mean, he's coming in hot. He's like, we ain't fucking around. You know what I mean, where were you when I created the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? And on what were oh shit, one sec. Sorry. God, I didn't scroll it in, boys. Where were you? Sorry, yeah. Where were you? Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footing set? Or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. Who shut up the sea behind the doors when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment and wrapped it in thick darkness, when I fixed limits for it and set its doors and bars in place, and when I said, "This far you may come and no farther," here is where your proud waves halt. Right? Have you ever given orders to the morning or shown the dawn its place, that it may take the earth by the edges and shake the wicked out of it? The earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Its features stand out like those of a garment. The wicked are denied under the light, and their upraised arm is broken. Have you journeyed to the sea? Do you know what I mean? It keeps going on like this, right? And then, so basically, like God's kind of saying, it's like, have you journeyed the seas? What's about the light? Have you entered the storehouse of the snow, even the storehouse of the hail? Like, even like goes on to mention the Leviathan. He's basically saying, like, look at all the stuff that I've created. I am like all powerful in terms of like being able to create everything and all this. Like, how dare you even question me? And there's even a section where he kind of says, if you had the right hand, if you had an arm as powerful as mine, I think it'll be here. I think it might be King James version. It's a star. Let's go. Yeah, so then shall he be condemned with the Almighty? Instruct him, he that reproveth God, let him answer it. Then Job answered the Lord and said, Behold, I am vile. What shall I answer thee? I will lay mine hand upon my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer. Yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. Then answered the Lord unto Job out of the whirlwind and said, Gird up thy loins now like a man. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. Wilt thou also disannul my judgment? Wilt thou condemn me, and thou mayest be righteous? Hast thou an arm like God, or canst thou thunder with a voice like him? This is basically God telling Job, like, listen, if you were as powerful as me, you'd be able to do all this stuff, but you can't. It's basically like doing the whole force doctrine thing. You know what I mean? And then it goes on, and basically Job says, "Yeah, you know what? You're right, boy." Like he even talks about like the dry out the Leviathan and all this kind of stuff, all these demons and all this kind of stuff. And then Job basically says, "I know thou canst do you can do everything and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just a mere mortal." And that's basically how it ends off. Where is it? But yeah, so it's basically, so the Lord blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels. Basically, had double of everything. He also had 7 sons. He basically replaced the children, and everybody was Gucci. But here's the thing, right? Like everybody, yeah. So Job died being old and full of days, and everyone lived happily ever after. Then after that, you have Psalm 1. You go into the Psalms, right? So my thing here is, right, I just want to make sure we get this on the other screen as well, because we have Justin's main question. Oh shit, one sec. We got William saying, Tarek, make sure you get the tail end of Chris's birthday stream to Chris. He lost because he went over 12 hours. Yeah, 100%. Just clip it, you know what I'm saying? Clip it and ship it, as they say. But yeah, like Justin's bringing up a point here saying, so Job and them are in heaven, which is a great outcome. Sounds like Satan lost. Like, this is my whole point, right? Because like that's a whole thing that's like, that's a possible outcome that we could deal with here. And one sec. Here we go. Here we go. So when we break it down, all right. Again, like my whole thing is that like the Book of Job is a question to the reader: are you willing to don title of adversary? Are you willing to stand up and say no, this is not right? So if God doesn't show up, it's like the whole like Indiana Jones. Like if Indiana Jones never showed up, it still would have been the same outcome. I mean, the Nazis would have found the treasure, opened it up, and then they all would have died. It's the same thing with God. Like, why does God show up? Because back to Justin's point, if God doesn't show up, Job keeps the faith, because that's the whole thing. If Job was going to keep the faith anyway, you know what I mean? So Job keeps the faith. They're all in heaven. They get rewarded in heaven, and Satan loses. You know what I mean? You basically have this thing here. God doesn't show up. Job's rewarded. Proves Satan wrong. So God necessarily doesn't need to show up. That's what I'm showing here. But we know that God does show up. Like we just read through the whole thing. He comes in like as a whirlwind or as a storm. You know what I mean? Heavily like tying it to like this whole like Zeus character with like the think of a storm with all like the thunder, lightning, all this kind of stuff. And bear in mind, like God's basically showing up to say like I'm all powerful. Bow down. Bow to me. You know what I mean? But here's the thing: if you're to justify God showing up, the main thing for me is that is because Job was going to turn his back on God. Because Job was questioning God with his friends, and he was like, "Yeah, like this is not right. If I'm a just man, why am I being treated unjustly?" And even God is saying to Satan, "You made me harm him." That to me is not taking accountability. I thought we were supposed to take accountability. We're all about agency here. You know what I mean? But how is Satan making God do stuff? It makes no sense. You know what I mean? Because fundamentally, you have to give me a necessary reason for God to show up to Job. Because like if you're saying to teach us to keep the faith, you can still like you can write that story without God having to show up. Because again, if God doesn't show up, Job quote unquote is supposed to keep the faith, and then he gets reward in heaven. And this for me is one of the things where no matter what way you view it or what way you try to dissect it down, either way, in it, like the fact that God shows up is the hint or the logic tree that you go down. That's like, oh shit, yeah, like God shows up because he's going to turn his back. Job was going to turn his back, and he's like, got to make sure that this boy doesn't get out of control. You know what I mean? Got to make sure that he keeps worship. But that's like I said, that's the main thing just in Book of Job. There's other ones as well. Like I've seen the likes of Shiva and Effigy trying to go down the lines of what is it, like the whole kind of like executing the other tribe and stuff like that as well. And like, I think if you do like the lives lost comparison as well. But in terms of like this whole kind of like the whole kind of dynamic that you see in Book of Job, is there anybody like that's my question to anybody, any Christian out there that's listening? If they want to hop up, click on the link, it's pinned in the chat. Like give me a valid reason of why God shows up. You know what I mean? Because I'm literally there's no necessary reason for God to show up. Because if he doesn't show up, we go back to what Justin was saying, where they're in heaven, right? They're going to get rewarded in heaven. That's a great outcome, and Satan would lose in that outcome.